Well, good morning, Louisiana, and to everyone else around the country that happens to be watching our special little Dattitude podcast show on this Wednesday, June 21st, episode number 154. Zach Ewing live in Omaha. I'm Jim Derry here in Mandeville. So I'm not as lucky as Zach Ewing, but I don't know. After you've been there for a while, Zach, maybe it's not so lucky.
Yeah, it starts to get a little, hotel thin walls in the bed, and I mean, it's fun. I'm not going to tell you it's not, but it's been almost a week now. So yeah, Omaha. Actually, I'm in Council Bluffs, Iowa, across the river at the Harris Council Bluffs property, which is nice. But yeah, you're away from home, away from the kids, so it starts to get a little long. But I tell you what, you look forward to 6 o'clock every night.
I'm sure you do, and we will do it again. Speaking of that, let's show you our topics for the day. Well, you know what our topic is for the day. LSU playing Wake Forest tonight in the College World Series semifinals. Wake Forest is in the catbird seat, needing to win just one more game to get to the College World Series championship series. LSU needs to win two, and they need to beat Wake Forest twice. That will start tonight at 6 p.m. here local time. If they can win tonight, they would force another game tomorrow on Thursday against these same Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Can the Tigers bullpen repeat its effort in the semifinals? Well, that's a lot of what we're going to talk about this morning here. I don't know what UBN. Oh, he's saying congrats to I'm a grandpa.
Yeah,
now.
do you got any baby pictures, Jim? Let's talk about what's really important.
You know, I didn't want to put the baby pictures up yet, so. Okay. He's not even 24 hours old yet, so we maybe we will on tomorrow's show with Duncan before I go on a little mini hiatus here. We'll see, but yeah, I am now officially a grandpa. I have looked like a grandpa for a little bit now, but that's not what people want to hear about. They want to hear about the Tigers and the Demon Deacons. And my question to you, Zach, is we obviously this is the main topic of conversation. Can the Tigers bullpen, because it's going to be another bullpen game. We don't know exactly who's going to start, but you got to think it's going to have to go through another. I mean, who's it going to be tonight? Is it going to be Thatcher Hurd? What's it going to look like?
Yeah, Jay Johnson, the LSU coach, has basically said all postseason, like, I'm not talking about my pitching. I'm not going to talk about who's available. I'm not going to talk about my rotation. I assume because he feels like it gives away a competitive advantage, and that's fair.
Okay.
At least at a certain point. Like, everyone knew Paul Skeens was going to start Saturday night. I don't know why he wouldn't have said that, but I do think he said something interesting. I did ask him about it after the first Wake Forest loss, and he seemed mildly annoyed, but it's our job to ask these questions. So I did ask, and he said, well, look, we've got 9 guys available, and we're going to pick one, and he'll go get as many outs as he can, and then we'll go get another one, and he'll get as many outs as he can, and we'll do that all the way up until we get 27 outs, and then we'll go do it again. And that's what they did last night. Is they chose Nate Ackenhausen to start that game, and Jay said in the post game, we were expecting / hoping to get 3 innings, 60 pitches, 12 batters out of him. Okay, so. And I remember thinking at the end of the 3rd inning, like, this is exactly what they wanted. I wonder if they could push it and get a 4th inning, because when you're in the elimination bracket, all you're trying to do is chew off those innings,
right?
And obviously win, but you've got to get through 27 innings to get through the week. Now they're through 9 of them. There's 18 to go against Wake Forest, which is a better offense. So it's going to get difficult, but I mean, Nate Ackenhausen ended up giving them 6 innings. Then they went to Riley Cooper and he gave them 3. So they only used 2 pitchers. And so I assume they still have 7 left. And Riley Cooper threw, I think, 50 pitches. So if
he's probably not available tonight.
Yeah, probably not. But if you got in a pinch and needed an out in the 9th inning, Riley Cooper's kind of become the closer. Could you go to him to get you an out in the 9th inning? Probably. Now the $1 million question is, when can you bring back Paul Skeens? Tonight, I don't think so. Still probably too early. Tomorrow, if LSU makes it to game, the next game against Wake Forest, I think that's a distinct possibility.
A lot of people say you just do whatever you can do to win and get to tomorrow. But in this case, I don't think you can even touch Skeens tonight. Here's my reasoning behind it. I get you don't win tonight, you don't move on. But I think if they use Skeens in any form or fashion tonight and burn him for tomorrow, okay, no matter what is going. I can't understand a scenario, foresee a scenario where you would bring him in tonight unless it goes extra innings or something. And you kind of forced your hand. But in this case, you not only have to win tonight, win tomorrow, and then you need to go in a championship series. So to win a championship and to burn him in this spot before tomorrow, I think makes zero sense. I don't think Johnson's gonna do it anyway. But you have to. I think tomorrow is a no-brainer. If somehow you get to tomorrow, you win this game and the bullpen does its thing. And I mean, let's be frank, the hitting's going to have to do much better than they've done in this College World Series to date, because as well as they did in the regional and the super regional, the offense has not been stellar. It's been less than stellar. Let's put it that way. So they're going to have to be on their A game tonight. They're going to have to be able to hit the ball. This, for LSU to win, in my eyes, it's going to have to be a high-scoring game. I think LSU needs to score 8 or 10 runs to win tonight. And then if you do win tonight, then you bring in Paul Skeens tomorrow, because then theoretically you could find a way to pitch him in championship series. You don't let him go 125 pitches like they did in the first game, but you do, I think, start him and try to get 5-6 innings out of him if you can. But you got to get past tonight, and you have to hope the bullpen does its thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think tonight's 3 days rest, which in the major leagues is sort of the minimum rest you would give a pitcher. Now, he did throw, look, Paul Skeens is a big guy.
Right.
He's powerful. He was still throwing 101 when he was at the end of his 125 pitches the other night, but it's still 125 pitches. His right arm is still worth an awful lot to him, to his family, to a major league team. I mean, you want to protect that. And you just can't assume that after working on 6 days rest all year long, like he would pitch one Friday and then pitch the next Friday, you can't just cut that in half and expect him to be the same guy. So that's first and foremost. So theoretically you can. Now, I will point out that if you use him tomorrow, that's 4 days rest. That's, again, short for him, but that would be normal professional pitcher rest, 4 days. And maybe you don't push him, like you said, maybe you throw him 70 or 80 pitches instead, get 5 innings out of him. And then for the people who want to pitch him tonight, well, look, 3 days rest from that point would be Monday, which would be game 3 of the championship series. So if you can get to the championship series, you can win one of those first 2 games without him. Then Paul Skeens is back available for Monday, potentially. Again, not for a full 120 pitches.
I hate to interrupt you, but I don't. I'm telling you right now, I don't care what he pitches tomorrow. Assuming he pitches tomorrow, if there were to be a game 3, he would be on the hill. I don't care what his pitch number is. I mean, that's,
well, and I don't.
The rules are out the window if you get to that.
I hear what you're saying. I guess I would think, is he still as effective? Now
that's
a good
if he gets
to Monday and he's now thrown 200 pitches in the previous 8 days, and you're asking him to go another 100, at some point he becomes less effective.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you are trying to win the game. I understand that, but if he comes in and says, "Skip, I'm done. My shoulder feels
for sure
numb." I mean,
absolutely.
You've got other options. It's all hands on deck at that point. So
pitchers don't say that though, unless they're really feeling like they're done. So sure. Paul Skeens would never say that unless, if he said that, then of course, because if a pitcher's saying that, then you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta yank him. But I wouldn't expect that to come. I think Jay Johnson would have to seriously monitor him. But it's the situation you put yourself in when you don't win that second game. If they had won that second game, everything would be different. They wouldn't have had to pitch last night. Ackenhausen could go tonight instead, and you'd find yourself in a nice situation, and then Skeens could go on full rest, but you can't do that, and it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sticky situation. There's a lot of games in a short period of time, particularly if you're in the losers bracket, and so that's the situation they find themselves in. As for tonight, I'm gonna guess maybe Blake Money gets the start, and they try to push him 2 or 3 innings.
Yeah,
he made 12 starts last year. There's not that many guys left who have starting experience. Ackenhausen did. He started 2 years ago at the junior college level.
Eastern Oklahoma.
Yeah. So, he had some starting experience. Javen Coleman has started 2 games in his career, but he's never gone longer than 3 2/3 innings, I think. And so he's going to be part of the picture. I think Money is probably the most used to getting out in the bullpen. I will say this too. Those guys they weren't used yesterday, but they warmed up an awful lot bullpen. They were up
There's no
every inning from
question.
the fourth inning on, and so I don't think we're going to see a guy go 6 tonight. I think it's much more likely you see a 2 2/3, a 1 1/3, a 2 and a 3 to get you home.
Yeah, but no one expected. I mean, I don't think as I was watching last night, and I went to LSU, so I can openly say, of course, I was rooting for LSU. I went there, and grew up in purple and gold, so that's who I am. But I will say that even the optimist of optimists, even watching the game, and you get into the third inning, he's still out there. You go, oh, he's still out there. Maybe, and again, the most optimistic scenario you could think of, he could get through 4. And this is even when he's in the third. You're like, I think they can squeeze one more inning out of him the way he looks. And you're like, well, maybe he'll come back in. And so, I mean, I don't even think Nate Ackenhouse's mama thought he could go 6 innings yesterday. So they got the absolute most they could get out of yesterday and pitched as well as they could possibly pitch. I saw some Tigers hater on Facebook last night actually say they were lucky. Lucky about what? You won 5-0. The pitches were outstanding. What is lucky about that?
Yeah, it was a pretty routine win as it turned out. I mean,
it sure was.
I guess you could consider it lucky they only had to use 2 pitchers. That was a stroke of luck that I think they could. And look, you need that to get through the consolation bracket. Once you lost that game Monday, and I'm not taking anything away from Wake Forest, but I think LSU was unlucky to lose that game Monday. You look at 2 very close play at the plate that went Wake Forest way, double play in the wrong situation.
It was a good call, by the way.
Yeah, it was a good call. But it was one of those things. The strike zone, say what you want. I think it was bad for both teams.
It was definitely bad for both teams.
Maybe LSU got the worst of it. I don't know. But again, once you're in that situation, you need some luck. So I don't think saying, "Oh, hey, you got a little lucky." Sure, they're going to need to get a little lucky tonight as well to get through this. Just looking through, Will Helmers has started 13 games in his career. He's only pitched 11 innings this year, and not since May the 2nd against Southeastern when he threw 1 inning.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
I will throw out the name Thatcher Hurd, who pitched, I think, 60 pitches on Monday night against Wake Forest. Could you bring him back for a couple of innings now that he's had?
You're going to see him at some point, whether he starts or not. I would be shocked if he doesn't play in this game, pitch in this game.
And then the other name, and he won't start, I don't think, but Gavin Guidry has thrown 1 pitch in this tournament.
He's going to pitch in this game as well.
Yeah, it got hit for a home run against Tennessee.
Yeah, real far.
He has been one of your key guys for the postseason. I think he's going to pitch tonight too.
There's no question. I think what you said, as much as they warmed up Money, which also worries me, by the way, he threw a lot of warm up pitches. I don't know, that probably takes away a little bit from how long he can go, although we'll see. But I think that's probably the most likely choice to start is Money. You got to think going into tonight. And they're not going to get 6 innings out of whoever starts tonight. They're just not going to. It's not going to happen. So tonight's going to be a true bullpen game. You have to be realistic about who it is. But Zach Ewing live from Omaha. I am here in Louisiana. It is 9:30 Central Time. We're going to be on the air till about 9:40, 9:45 if we push it. If you have any comments or questions and you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, feel free to go and leave them in there, and we'll put them on the screen. If you're watching on Twitter, you can just say hello because we can't put your comments or questions on the screen here. And don't forget to subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. Okay. We have something there, Zach. Uncle Big Nick wants to know if the tweaked out pitcher will throw for Wake Forest again.
I mean, that guy, he was like flipping his glove and tossing the ball. He was like Mark the Bird Fidrich all over again. And the great thing is, I think you can hear it on TV as well, but they pipe the ump mic into the press box.
Yeah.
And in TV, it's kind of in the background, right? So you'll hear some of the stuff, but if Ravitch is talking over it, you don't hear it as well. We hear everything in the press box, and you can't hear exactly what the guys say because the mic is on the ump. So unless the ump goes out there, you can't exactly hear. But you could just hear him muttering sort of in the background. I don't know. Like Tennessee,
what was he muttering?
You couldn't tell, but I don't know if it's. I'll bet you it's not G-rated.
Unintelligible.
But like that guy from Tennessee who almost had an aneurysm in the Super Bowl against Southern Miss.
That
he
guy
wasn't quite that bad, but he was like fidgety. And
Uh,
I actually thought it was to LSU's benefit that he was in the game because it's such a big stage and such a like you want a guy who's that kind of out there. And
yeah,
but they took him out pretty quickly.
out there. Well, I agree with Charlie Dellinger, who says Guidry can still give us quality innings. Yes, I think so. One bad pitch doesn't erase everything
100%.
he's done lately. Of course. I mean, you can't say, look, I mean, you want to talk about one bad pitch, ask Ben McDonald about one bad pitch against Stanford. I mean, it doesn't take away anything from what Ben McDonald did in his career at LSU. So, of course, I mean, you have to count on those guys. And you know what? Even if you were a little unsure of Gavin Guidry at this point, it doesn't make a difference. I mean, you're at the point, you're in the College World Series where bullpens are key. We talked about this going in. I mean, in best case scenario, you're still going to have to go through most of your pitchers anyway. So certainly in a game like tonight, when they had to play last night, they had to play Monday night. And if they win, they got to play again tomorrow night. I mean, it is what it is at this point of the year. We talked about it before the regionals even started. So of course, Gavin Guidry can be part of this thing, and he has to be.
Well, look, let's say they have 8 guys available. They had 9 yesterday. Let's say that obviously Ackenhausen's not going to pitch. Let's say Cooper's done. Skeens is not ready to come back, but you do gain Thatcher Hurd maybe for an inning.
Yeah.
So you have 8 guys available. If you were to rank those 8 guys as an LSU fan in how confident you are that they can go get outs against a very good offense, Gavin Guidry is really high on that list.
I agree.
He might be number 1 on that list. And so yeah, if he doesn't get outs, well, then you're not going to win the College World Series. I mean, that's how it goes. But I think he's a guy you have to trust.
Let's look at the road that the Tigers have gotten to get here. My English is not very good this morning. That's because I'm not used to being here on a Wednesday, I guess, but it is what it is. And maybe because yesterday was weird because I am a grandpa for the first time to this morning. And I realize how old I'm getting. My mind is not working.
You woke up a grandpa for the
I
first
woke,
time.
yeah, I did. And so we had him on the screen all night. You're going to watch him on the screen because he's in the NICU right now. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, game 1 Saturday, obviously LSU beat Tennessee twice, lost to Wake Forest in that weird one. Zach, they take the 2-0 lead in the third. To think that LSU would go from the third inning to the end of the game without scoring is kind of weird because that's not obviously been anything but their MO. But again, if they're able to win the night, they play again tomorrow at 6:00, regardless of what happens in Florida TCU. That Florida TCU game, by the way, if TCU wins that game and LSU were happen to lose, then that game would be bumped to 6. Obviously, LSU fans hope that doesn't happen on Thursday. I mean, so other than that, that is the schedule. We would love to see another game from both of these teams because, frankly, if you're trying to get to the championship, you want Florida to play as many games as possible anyway. So I think Tigers fans should be rooting for the Horned Frogs this afternoon because, again, if they were to win and get to the championship rounds, you want the Gators to play as many games as possible, and then you see the schedule for the championship round.
Yeah, and one thing that we should touch on is Wake Forest. Wake Forest has so much pitching. They
really do.
What they do not have is sort of a surefire go-to number 3 starter. They have the 2 guys that they pitched, Rhett Lauder and then Josh Hartle, who they pitched against LSU on Monday. Those guys obviously are spent. After that, they've got 3 guys who made at least 7 starts this year, and all of them were pretty good. But what you're not going to get, I don't think, they've all sort of taken turns as the third guy. What you're not going to get is somebody goes out there and you have to mess with for 5 or 6 innings like Hartle. Now, I'm not sure that that's a good thing for LSU because instead you're going to get a bunch of fresh arms. You're going to get this guy for 2 or 3 innings, this guy for 2 or 3 innings, this guy for 2 innings, and it's going to be fresh arm after fresh arm. What I will say is that if LSU can survive tonight, to me these teams are back on even footing.
I agree.
Wake Forest could choose to bring back Rhett Lauder on short rest, just like LSU could choose to bring back Paul Skeens on short rest, or Wake Forest would have to go bullpen game just like LSU would. So I think things kind of turn if LSU can win tonight. That's saying a lot. But if you look at the futures market, like Wake Forest is an odds-on favorite to win the national title now. They're -105. LSU is 6-1. Well, if LSU wins tonight, they're going to pop right back to just about. They might be plus 180 each.
I don't know about
They're
that
going to be
much.
basically even.
You think it'd be that far? I don't think it'd go
Well,
that far.
it might go back to where it was at the beginning of the tournament. Like Wake Forest would have a slight edge; they'd be plus 180, and LSU'd be plus 220 or something. And you
Maybe.
might, but then there's also the possibility, and the odds makers will take this into account, that Skeens could come back Thursday. And if
Well,
that's the case, then do you
do
really
you take
favor
into
Wake?
account also if these two teams, if LSU wins tonight and let's say Florida wins in the afternoon, that means they get a rest until Saturday, Thursday, Friday. I mean, that's a big, and they started a day earlier, so they're probably more in line on track to do what they want to do with their pitching. So I think if Florida wins today and LSU wins, that gives the Gators a big time, significant advantage going into the championship series, no matter who wins on Thursday.
Florida would be favored in that case for sure. They'd be
They should.
they'd be maybe even money, and then you'd have Wake Forest and LSU somewhere in the plus 180 to plus 220 range. And then the winner of that probably becomes a slight favorite over Florida.
Yeah, and I think, look, I agree with you completely. I think that if LSU can find a way to win tonight, first of all, I think if LSU wins tonight, I think we're going to see Skeens tomorrow. I don't see any way you can't. God bless you. I just don't see any way you can't use Paul Skeens tomorrow in a deciding game with him there. You cannot go out of this tournament to making it to a decisive game where if you win, you're in the championship series. If you lose, you go home without using the stud. That's the way that I look at it, and I don't think that they would. So I think that if LSU wins tonight, so then that puts LSU as the favorite, in my opinion, and I think that they would be favored. Even though Jay Johnson's not going to tip his hat, I think the books will assume that Paul Skeens is going to pitch. And so again, this is hugely important. This is a series changing kind of game, just like Monday night was. This is a similar thing. Monday night was probably a little bit more important because you'd rather be in the spot that Wake Forest is in. But then again, with Paul Skeens sitting there waiting to go and a chance to pitch, it's almost as important. And obviously, if you lose, you go home. So I guess you could make an argument, a good one, that this is more important. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Monday, to me, watching that game felt like the national championship game, and
I
I don't
agree.
mean any disrespect to Florida because I think they do have a chance, but that felt like the national championship game.
Oh wait, you
But it
thought
wasn't.
whoever won that one is gonna win that? You think whoever
Yeah,
comes out of this bracket's going to the national championship?
I think so. But look, I mean, look, it felt like that. It wasn't, because obviously LSU still has a path.
Yeah.
They still have a maybe 15% chance to win the
I'm
national
still not
championship.
convinced about this Wake Forest. I'm just not. To me, for them to only score 3 runs against, no offense, Tigers fans, but I'm not super overly impressed with Ty Floyd. I mean, he's done okay. No, he's done. And look, he's done fine. And I know he's got an undefeated record, and it is what it is. And he's done fine. But he hasn't been dominating in any sense of the word at any point in the season. And the bullpen came in and did okay, but you shouldn't be shutting out anyone. And basically, Wake Forest kind of got shut down. They had all the momentum after Trey Morgan got thrown out at the plate, and that call got overturned. By the way, the right call. It was correctly overturned. I've had so many people say he was safe. No, he wasn't safe. He was tagged out on the thigh. It was close, but he got tagged on the thigh before he touched the plate. But anyway,
unbelievable play, by the way.
Just an incredible play. Kind of lucky too, but it's still a fantastic play. But anyway, the momentum changed after that play. But for LSU not to score, but Wake Forest to just put 3 runs on the board, I'm just not overly impressed. There's nothing that tells me that LSU is still not the better team. I thought they were the better team on Monday, and I think even with a bullpen game, I'm not impressed with Wake Forest's bats, and I think LSU has a solid chance.
Wake Forest, I mean, okay, for one thing, Jay Johnson made a point last night that, like, hey, yeah, we had a couple of bad weeks at the end of the regular season, but I think we have a really good pitching staff beyond Paul Skeens. And like Nate Ackenhausen was a top junior college recruit. Javen Coleman was a top recruit. Blake Money was a top recruit. Like, these guys have talent in those arms.
Yeah.
And every time you see a team come from the consolation bracket to win the College World Series, it's because they have some pitchers step up who nobody had ever heard of and just assumed, excuse me, just assumed they were terrible because they had only thrown 11 innings all year. Well, these guys have talent in those arms. LSU has good coaches. Like, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that one of these guys could find it, have command for one night, and keep them in a game, just like Ackenhausen did last night. Now, Ackenhausen's actually been pretty good all year, but I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility. Having said that, Wake Forest, here's where I look at it. They have some guys with just video game numbers.
Yeah.
Their 3 and 4 hole hitters have a combined 55 home runs. They both have an on-base percentage over 500. They both have a not OPS, a slugging percentage over 900. But like, just video game numbers. Now, we were in the press box the other day looking up the dimensions of their home ballpark. They play in a cigar box. Like, the ball is going to fly out of that place. It's like 290 down the lines. And,
Jeez.
315 in the gaps. And I'm going off of memory. It might not be quite that small, but it's small. And so those numbers are inflated because of that. And Wake Forest offense is not as good as the numbers make it look. But turn that around for a second. Wake Forest has the best team ERA in the nation by like more than half a run. And those pitchers are pitching in that bandbox too. So that's where I think Wake has the big advantage tonight, is they're just going to roll 4 or 5 fresh arms at LSU and say, okay, you guys are going to have to score more than 3 or 4 runs against these guys, because Wake's probably going to score 3 or 4 runs against your pitchers. So to me, Wake's got the advantage tonight. I'm sure we'll make a pick here in a minute. Like, that's if it gets beyond tonight, the switch flips, and LSU to me has a big advantage both in momentum and the possibility of bringing Skeens back and getting to the bottom of Wake's pitching staff. But tonight, it's still advantage Wake Forest.
Yeah, I didn't say anything about their pitching. I am impressed by their pitching, but I was just simply talking about their hitting. There's nothing that I've seen so far that impressed me about their hitting. But again, for LSU to win this game tonight, I think they need to be I think they need to score at least 6, maybe 8, possibly even 10. But I think it's going to be a different kind of game than we have seen. By the way, is the wind forecast to continue to blow in like it's been?
I don't know about the direction. It is still going to be fairly windy tonight. So that could be a game changer. I mean, this ballpark, as most ballparks do, faces the east, which in Omaha means faces the Missouri River. And you're only, seriously, less than half a mile from the river when you're at the outfield wall. So the wind tends to come in off the river. Not always, but it tends to. And so I think it's more likely the wind's going to blow in, which is one reason why this is such a pitcher's park.
Yep. Before we leave, UBN wants to know if you have any eligibility left. If you need
I'm happy to go out there and perform 17 straight pickoff throws so that someone else can get warm in a pinch.
I'm out of eligibility. I'm out of eligibility.
So,
yeah, I can't do it. All right. Before we leave this morning, and thank you for coming on short notice. Just decided last night, let's do a show. By the way, we are going to have another show tomorrow morning on these same channels. I usually go Friday, so it's going to be 2 weird days. But Jeff Duncan cannot do a show on Friday. He is going to, and it might be the last one we do before I go on vacation. So Jeff Duncan is going to be on tomorrow at 9:30 instead of 9:15. And we are going to talk probably mostly Saints. We will talk LSU, whether they win or lose. We'll talk about it, but we are probably going to spend most of our time talking about the Saints, as again, could be our last show before we go on to break. I'm not 100% sure yet, so we'll see how that works. And then with next week, if we can get an LSU player, I'm trying to get Coach Palmineri. That's also a possibility. We'll go. Okay, time for prediction. Zach Ewing, what is your prediction for tonight?
I agree with you. It's going to be a little higher scoring than the other night when it was 3-2. I don't think it's going to be an 8-7, 10-8 type game. I think LSU would love for that to happen. But again, I'm going to go with Wake again tonight. I just think the advantage they have in the number of quality arms that they trust is a big one tonight. My tune is going to change if LSU finds a way to win tonight, because then I do think LSU wins the national championship if they win tonight. But I'm going to go with Wake Forest tonight. We'll say 5-3.
Someone mark this down somewhere. This date in history. The date's right there, Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. I agree with everything Zach Ewing just said. I predicted LSU Florida before the series started, but that game on Monday night changed the entire series. And I think I also agree that if LSU can find a way to win tonight, I think they have a leg up, and I think they have an excellent chance to win the national championship. But that being said, man, the way you have to use your bullpen the entire way, and I'm not taking anything away from LSU's bullpen. They've been fantastic. I never thought they were as bad as a lot of LSU fans were wang about, as I mentioned on Twitter last night. But I don't think LSU wins this game. I just don't. I'll be happy to be wrong, like I was wrong on Monday the wrong way. But I think that you get to this spot. I think Wake Forest is in a better situation, and having a day off makes a huge difference in this spot. LSU played kind of, you could say emotional or not. They didn't, whatever effort they put out, but winning as they did and being able to beat a foe in Tennessee is a lot different than beating the number one team in the country. That's number one for a reason. So, with that being said, I think LSU is going to fall in a heartbreaker tonight. I'm going to say I'll have a different score. I don't want to be exactly the same as Zach. I'm going to say they lose tonight 7-4. That's going to be my prediction. So we'll see.
Wakes up minus 145 at Caesar Sportsbook and the over under 10.5. So
it'll be interesting to see if the bettors are all over LSU tonight like they were on Monday. My guess is no.
Yeah, I want to say this opened at minus 140, so it's already ticked a nickel toward the Demon Deacons. And they were all over LSU last night, too. LSU opened against Tennessee as a slight underdog, and they were a slight favorite by the time the game started. So it was interesting to see that change. We'll see if it happens again today.
Well, I'm not going to bet on it because I don't feel that strongly about it, and I hope I'm wrong. You know what? Maybe I'll put $5 on it and hope I lose my money. I did that actually last night when it was 3-0 LSU, and I had this bad feeling, and the first guy got on for Tennessee. What was that, in the 8th inning? I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put $2. Tennessee was plus 1,600. I put $2 on Tennessee and hoping to lose my $2. Best $2 I ever spent. Didn't want to win $30 or $32.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll hope it happens again. All right. I will see you tomorrow, Thursday afternoon on Bayou Bets, my friend.
All right. Thanks, Jim.
We appreciate Zach Ewing being on the show again on such short notice. Again, their show tomorrow, Thursday at 9:30. It'll be Jeff Duncan sitting in the chair of Zach Ewing, in the virtual chair, that is. And as I always do, when I finish this podcast, I will go on and add my very short monologue this morning. You can find it anywhere you find your podcast, Apple, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, whatever. It'll be there in just about, I'd say around 11 o'clock this morning. Everyone have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining us here on Dattitude, and go Tigers.